Hey guys, this channel is all about starting and building a successful business, and I want to give you tips to make that as easy as possible. So this video is all about doing your bookkeeping, but making it really simple. I've got a Google Sheet template for you, and I'm going to shrink my head down, share my screen, and show you how that works. So let's get down to it. So here we are. This is the Google Sheet version. You can also download it as an Excel file if you want. And our first step that we need to do is actually create a copy of it or download it. So I'm going to make a copy. You can see right now it's in view only. Our first step is make that copy and rename it to whatever you want and save it to wherever you want within your own Google Drive. If you don't use Google, grab it as an Excel file or one of the other options when you download it. So I'm just going to call it Avalon's free bookkeeping template, make a copy of it, close the original, and now we can actually edit it now that we've made a copy. Previously it was view only, but now we can actually use it. So we've made our copy, and the next step I'm going to do is just show you how it works. And there are some instructions here. You can also click some links to grab a copy as a Google Sheet or download it as an Excel file, and there is a link to a tutorial video as well. Then we get into these blue shaded cells, and these are what you're going to use to actually just do your bookkeeping. So first up, I'm going to enter my name. I'm going to enter the year that the bookkeeping is for. Let's say I'm doing it for last year's bookkeeping. If you're in Canada, do you charge GST, HST? I'm going to say yes. And it's going to tell me to please enter both the gross amount and the GST, HST amounts. And if you're filing your taxes in Canada, you can also use this. Did you work from home during the year? If you click yes, it's also going to prompt you to fill out the Home Office tab. If you're not in Canada, it still works for categorizing transactions and recording your bookkeeping. But the rules might be a little bit different for home offices in other countries, and sales tax is going to be a little bit different. So this is predominantly geared for Canadian users, but it can be changed and used for others if the rules work just fine for you. So we now have it basically set up, and what we need to do next is grab our transactions for the year. And that's the idea. This bookkeeping template is to be used for an annual bookkeeping. So that means it's really good for filing your personal taxes. So what we need to do is we need to grab all of our transactions and then paste those transactions into here. So we'll have a description, we'll have a date, we'll have a total amount. You may have GST, HST paid, and then you can see kind of behind my head there, we have the transaction type. So I'm going to go and grab my transactions, and then I'll show you how to paste those in here and actually use this template. So I've got my transactions from my bank account and my credit card, and I put them into Excel, and I just organize them so that I have a description, a transaction date, and an amount, because that's exactly what I need to copy. And then I'm actually going to right click and I'm going to paste special, and I'm going to paste values only. And the only reason I do that is so that I don't get this outcome where it changes it all white. Honestly, that doesn't matter, but I guess I'm a little picky with that. So I'm going to paste it special. Don't worry if you don't do this. And what we have now is we have all of our transactions entered, and I am actually doing the bookkeeping for 2024. And these are the actual transactions for Avalon Academy. And if you look in some of our other videos, you'll see me doing the bookkeeping with zero, which is the way that I prefer, but it's only because I'm really used to it and it's using software to do the bookkeeping. This works just as well, and it's very, very simple and straightforward. So now that we have all of our transactions in, our next step is to determine whether we need to include GST, HST, again, if you're from Canada, and then just choose a transaction type from the drop-down menu here. So you can see we have sales, cost of sales, advertising. Sales is obviously revenue, and then the rest of it is just going to be expenses, or we have capital assets. So if you have equipment or office furniture or things like that, a vehicle, computer, you might want to include those as capital assets. Otherwise, you will be recording your expenses with these other transaction accounts. So I'll start at the top, and I'll just do some of this. I'll show you how fast it actually is to do. So a lot of these are going to be the same because we had some Facebook advertising to sell courses. So if I choose advertising and then just copy and paste that into all of the Facebook ads ones, you can see we started spending a bunch on Facebook ads apparently. We also have some software I tried a trial of. So I'm going to record that as software subscriptions. Zero software, again, that's the actual bookkeeping software I use. Account fee, that's just our RBC bank account fee. And then we start getting into our revenue. And so if you collected GST, HST on your revenue, you would include it here. for us, Thinkific does that for us. So I can include this all as sales. So I've got categories, and I'm just gonna copy and paste all of my various sales transactions. And you can see I even have a refund here. That's a negative. It says it's invalid, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. This is truly a refund that we gave to a customer. So what I'm going to do is code it to sales, and it's just going to reduce my sales balance by 149. So it's going to decrease the sales that I made, which is pretty accurate considering it was a refund. So again, just finishing up the transaction recording here, recording all the bank charges. And this was some affiliate revenue, so I'm going to call that sales as well. I could create a separate account for that, but it doesn't matter all that much right now, especially when we're trying to keep the bookkeeping simple. We just want to get it all entered and get it all categorized. If we had paid GST on these transactions here, we would write the GST amount in here, and it's going to record the net amount to the expense, and it's going to record the GST paid to the GST tab, and I'll show you that in a second. Same story here. If we had collected GST on these, I would record the amount that we collected. It would record the net amount to sales and record the GST HST collected to this tab here. So I'm going to leave the bookkeeping tab right now, and I'll show you the income statement really quick. So you can see we've recorded all of our sales for that period. We had 7,700 in sales, and then we recorded our advertising and bank charges and software costs. So not a lot of expenses going on there, and total expenses of 1,837. Our net income is 5,925. So we could actually use this to prepare our tax return. We would just include the sales information and all the expense information. If we had some capital assets that we had purchased, they would show up here, and those can also be used in your tax return. And really, that is all you need to do. So it's copy all the transactions, categorize them, check out your income statement, and use it to file your taxes. And if you had GST, HST, you can see here we have total sales shows up, our GST collected of 12 bucks that I recorded, our GST paid of 10 bucks, and then our net GST that we would owe to the government of $2 in this very, very fictional situation. So I'm going to delete those because those aren't actually real in this case. But you can see we finished our bookkeeping for, I think this is only about 3 months of bookkeeping. But if the timer is right on here, I can see it. It took me about 5 minutes. So it's a very quick way of doing your bookkeeping. Check it out. Click the link in the description below, grab your copy, and you can always reach out if you have questions. There is a contact email up there, and I do check that, and I'll help you out if you need a hand. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.